And it seems like we always talking about the mental health of black men and what can we do to help black men. We don't need all this toxic masculinity or whatever. But when you bully a young lady for having a conversation that she could have had about healing, who's really toxic? So in this video, I was inboxed by multiple people just about my opinion on Keke Palmer just basically erasing the interview with Jonathan Majors. Now, this is just going to be my thoughts. This is not nobody's else's thoughts. This is my own nutrition. I'm saying this what I believe the reason why Keke Palmer actually dropped the interview with Jonathan Majors. Now, initially, I believe that people said that they heard the interview. It was on it was on a particular podcast. I don't know. I've been busy working, all of this stuff, streaming. So I haven't had a chance to really give you my thoughts to this. But let me just say it like this. And this is just going to be my honest opinion on this. There's two factors that you have to realize with Keke Palmer. Number one, Keke Palmer is a businesswoman and she's working for an entity. I don't believe that Keke Palmer has this podcast and is ran, owned, and operated by Keke Palmer. So what I believe is somebody from up high starts seeing the backlash online, especially from the feminist community that just believes without a shadow of a doubt that Jonathan Majors is an abuser. No matter how many times we say what his actual charges are, that the only crime he was actually charged with, was reckless assault, which is a misdemeanor, is a low-level misdemeanor. Doesn't mean he did anything. And a city citation of harassment, or they go off of the audio that, again, CNN couldn't even clarify or even figure out if it was authentic. Oh, look, he said it. But it came from a SoundCloud account. We have no idea if it's real or not. We don't have the who, what, where, when, and why of the context of that. But you have these women that, number one, some of them have been through domestic violence situation. I completely understand them being triggered. Just because you're triggered doesn't mean you're 100% right, but I understand the trigger. And that is something that me myself, that I worked through therapy when it came to that. But this is the other side of the coin. You have these women that just hate Jonathan Majors for one, that he was dating a white woman. I don't know how many times I've said this on my channel, but I'm trying to tell you, there is women that hate black men that divest, but they have no problem with black women divesting into white men, because the same energy is not put out when a white man puts his hands on a black woman. Like that cat Chad Wheeler. Nobody has a problem with that. Nobody is going out calling this man what it is or whatever, or keep bringing him up or nothing. But Jonathan Majors, who has done the work, ladies and gentlemen, he's done the work. The man got sentenced to a year of these domestic violence classes. He did the classes, and then he went beyond that. You know what I mean? And want to help with these brothers that he's in these classes with, because he felt like that's right. That's not good enough. Because how dare he run from that white woman? How dare he go through the situations with that woman in the first place? How dare he? Right? So these women who are not getting two people together, because I'm going to talk about Keke Palmer here in a second, that is not getting two people together who have went through these situations with domestic violence, no matter what end of the spectrum that you in, and had a conversation to talk about healing, talk about the triggers and things that happen. How could we avoid it? See, one thing that I have a problem with my brothers and sisters is that we always want to play the victim, but then when somebody gives us a cure, we destroy one person so the cure is not there, so we can be able to play the victim. And there's a lot of people that want to play the victim and don't want the actual healing to be able to get over their victimhood, because it's easier, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to play the victim. than it is to actually heal from your trauma. And sometimes some of you portray your trauma on others and don't want others to shine because I just don't like him. You don't know this man. This man doesn't pay your rent. This man does not affect your light bill, gas bill, water bill, your car note, nothing. So how are you so mad about someone you don't know? And instead of just ignoring that person, let that person do what he do, you get online and you bully. Now, here is the other side of the equation when it comes to Keke Palmer. Remember, she was also in a domestic violence situation herself. And even her ex even said that he believes that he was attacked by her. He came out and said, I was attacked. And we all seen the the video. We seen the video. And we felt for Sister Keke because she went through that. So what he has to say, we don't have video evidence of it. What we do know, ladies and gentlemen, is that, Keke Palmer and her child's father decide to handle it privately, with the custody battle and with the restraining order and everything. So we know that they did that, right? And what doesn't want to come up, which I could be able to understand that, but then I asked the question, why would you do the interview? Is that some people were going to start questioning what she went through as far as the domestic violence and stuff like that. Did she actually put hands on him? And what was the toxicity? There's a lot of questions that's going to be asked on both sides. With Jonathan's a little bit different because he can no longer talk about that situation in detail because of the drop lawsuit and the non-prejudice on the drop lawsuit. No matter if that audio came out, and I've always said the audio did more damage than anything. And it did damage in the farthest perspective because they can always bring that up. It's in the zeitgeist, even though nobody's actually questioning it like CNN did. Then they can't even get Rolling Stone to verify the validity of the audio. Not saying the audio is faked or anything like that. It could have been chopped. It could have been edited in a way where it makes it seem like this 28-second interview, this 28-second conversation that was secretly recorded, is more than it is. But what it really did, it put people in a perspective that this man is an abuser. But I'm going to just show you, some of the things that happened in court because I recorded a lot of the information that came from court. Thanks to Danny Does Law. These are some of the videos that I have done to prove to you guys that it was just a really bad situation on both parties. But Jonathan is not the abuser that you think he is. Here we go. In question, they were coming from a night at a play at BAM, Brooklyn Academy of Music, and dinner at a Japanese restaurant. Jonathan hired a car service to take them to and from the entire night. The vehicle was a late model black Cadillac Escalade. Stephanie McMahon Hemsley testified she demanded to see messages, grabbed the phone with both hands to turn her back towards him, the left of the passenger side doors to secure the phone with both hands. Clarification on the text that set it off, Jonathan was not who sent the "I wish I was kissing you right now" text. It was Cleopatra. He wasn't expecting me to take it, and he tried and failed to pry the phone out of my hands, Stephanie McMahon stated. No, I observed Jonathan sharing notes with his team during this time as part of the testimony. They objected to leading questions and McMahon Hemsley not answering the question at hand. When questioned about any pain she felt from the alleged injury, she kept referring to adrenaline and shock and repeatedly stated that she was more concerned about who this girl is and finding out than any pain she was in. She testified she hit his arm and his shoulders as he sat in his chair. She denied scratching Jonathan in the face or arm. Jonathan ordered the driver to stop the car and proceeded to try and exit the Escalade. This is where the people played all the video in question, ones the public saw and others never before seen. As Jonathan exits the vehicle, you can see Stephanie McMahon Hemsley right behind him. On his side of the car, she was seated on the passenger driver's side. She moved over to his side to follow behind him. When asked why she got out, I got out after the alleged assault, she stated she wasn't focused on anything but the infidelity. The video evidence shows Jonathan trying to keep her in the car and away from following him. It is clear she is fighting to get out and he's trying to restrain her to keep her inside. McMahon Helmsley claims she didn't fight back, but the video shows otherwise. She stated, "He was trying to get me off of him and trying to get me not to follow him." Video evidence shows Jonathan is unsuccessful after 3 tries to keep her in the car, so he runs up the street to get away from her. McMahon Helmsley testifies he kind of was running away. The video evidence shows Stephanie McMahon Helmsley running after Jonathan for what seems like a good 5 to 6 city blocks for probably a couple of minutes. The surveillance jump from location to location, included but not limited to a parking lot, ended with McMahon Helmsley lost him and couldn't find him anymore and stopped in front of a building on Lafayette Street where she met the bystander she told about having her phone and purse and ultimately went clubbing and dancing with. Video is shown without sound of McMahon Helmsley talking to the passerbyers in the front of the Lafayette Street building. When asked over and over about any pain she felt from the alleged assault, McMahon Helmsley stated she was still worried about who's that girl. It didn't register to my nervous system. McMahon Helmsley talked in circles about not seeing the injuries on herself when asked. McMahon Helmsley claimed at the time that she was speaking to the passerbyers, she felt scared of him. Yet the video surveillance shows her approaching him as he passes by and recommenced running after him out of frame. McMahon Helmsley testified she only followed him again because he still was her boyfriend, had no explanation, and needed keys. Despite the fact that McMahon Helmsley felt scared of him, she asked him to get back into the Cadillac Escalade and testified that Jonathan was kind of calm and she kept insisting on seeing the text message. She stated he sat in the back row and was quiet. Video is shown of the Escalade parked on the corner with the hazard lights flashing. McMahon Helmsley testified she pulled his shirt and a button came off. Jonathan told her, "You can have the car, I'm going to a hotel," and then he ran away again. When asked why didn't she just go home, McMahon Helmsley testified that she didn't want to be alone into an empty apartment, so she went with Chloe, one of the passerbyers at the Lafayette building. Today's testimony wrapped up with her taking account of her activities at the club and birthday party she went with Chloe and Shem. A picture of the 3 of them were passed around in an attempt to show her injured finger. She also admitted to signing receipts for drinks and still could do things with alleged injured hand. McMahon Helmsley also admitted to using 2 hands and 2 cellular devices to try to call an Uber using a hotspot for one of the other phones. McMahon Helmsley admitted to drinking champagne and shots of tequila. She also admitted that she got to the point where, as a woman, she was nervous about drinking any further and decided to go home. When asked about her state of mind, she testified that she was thinking, "I'm going to be okay without him," and that her independence was coming back. Court adjourned at this point, where surveillance video of her entering the apartment building lobby. McMahon Helmsley has begun, and thus far, she appears frazzled, confused, conveniently forgetful. One example is she claims she didn't remember what time they left for the play at BAM when she stated it was around 6:30 on direct examination. Update. So far, it seems like the defense strategy is to unweave a lot of the inconsistent statements McMahon Helmsley made regarding how much she drinks, hinting at alcoholism, text message between she and her friend that seems to indicate she faked being unconscious in the closet when Jonathan found her. The strong possibility that she caused her own ear injury based on photographic evidence. Whether or not the DA cut her a deal to not be prosecuted for her arrest in exchange for her testimony. Whether or not the DA is paying for her and her friends' expenses, pretending not to know until June that she needed to turn herself in, pretending she didn't recognize certain photos of Jonathan's injuries, recording Jonathan without his knowledge or permission, questionable reimbursements requests McMahon Helmsley made for $750 in clothing, that was never damaged, and $200 in toiletries. Her stealing the iPhone Jonathan asked her to return, she testifies to still having it. Questions surrounding whether or not the DA offered her help with a work visa. Palmer also tipped her on exaggeration on how she was pushed back into the Escalade despite all of us seeing it. This all seems to be pointing at the possible lack of credibility and dishonesty issues. A quick recap on what's happening in the courtroom with Jonathan Major's trial from Jimmy, who went to the court to make sure someone will be there in Danny Does Law's absence. So far, the focus today is on the injuries of what happened in the car, club, and penthouse bathroom. Before the jury arrives, the sides discuss an issue of McMahon Helmsley's medical records. There's a label on the paperwork noting domestic abuse. Both sides speculate for redaction. Jury enters. First question. And again, this is from Pyra Chaudhry to Miss Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. All right, did Majors talk to you about your working visa? Yes. Majors was going to help with this when she came here to stay with him, so she could also work, but this was never accomplished. The dinner. March 24th, a Japanese restaurant called Karasu that you enter through Walters. Did you have a drink? Yes, it was a margarita. A video is shown of Majors getting up, apparently going to the bathroom. McMahon Helmsley also gets up and follows behind him. She appears to peek around the corner to see where Jonathan goes, then goes back to the table, picks up the drink, drinks it all until it is finished. Do you see yourself picking up the margarita? Yes, that's what it looks like on footage. Jimmy knows that McMahon Helmsley's answers most of her questions today with fluffy language like this. Palmer divides the three different parts of the night where they enter and leave the car into three parts, making it easier to follow. Car 1, Car 2, Car 3, all the black Escalade, just 3 district periods of time. Leaving the restaurant, they get into the car, and this is what Palmer will call Car 1, and she begins to ask questions about what happened during the time. Car 1. Jonathan asks the driver. McMahon does not ask the driver for help. Palmer asks McMahon Helmsley if she was wearing a seatbelt. Yeah, I think so. I can't remember. Was Jonathan wearing a seatbelt? I can't really remember, but maybe. There are bucket seats in the Escalade. During Car 1, the couple are sitting in the middle row, each in their own seat. Did Jonathan ask the driver anything? Yes. Do you remember what he asked the driver? My note here jumped. Yeah, I think he did ask the driver. Did you speak to the driver because you needed help? No, I don't recall. I don't remember. Car 1. Palmer asks Palmer questions McMahon Helmsley about the details of the incident at the center of the case. McMahon Helmsley says Jonathan grabs her with both hands, then mushed her in the face, open palm, to twist her arm behind her back. With which hand? I don't remember. Maybe both or one. At this time, did Jonathan have his phone? Yes. So he wasn't trying to retrieve the phone at this point. No, he already had the phone in his hand. Which hand was he using? I wasn't looking at him. I couldn't see what hand. Do you know if he was using one hand or two hands? I don't remember. Which hand was his phone in? His left hand. I also noted, without a response, okay, well, if the phone was in his left hand, how was he using two hands to grab you? The chase videos are played again. Jimmy's description matches what we heard from Danny Does Law. She exits the car to run after him. It's like 3 lanes, 3 northbound, 3 southbound. The car stops in the furthest lane, so traffic is moving on both sides each side. The car stopped at the red light, and that's when Jonathan runs out of the car. McMahon Helmsley runs after him. McMahon Helmsley almost runs right into this white car while running. Palmer asks McMahon Helmsley about the part of the video in particular where McMahon Helmsley almost collides with a car. I didn't notice it. I was trying to be with him, walk with Jonathan, is what Jimmy noted on her response. Jimmy adds that it was obvious he was running and she was running after him. Jimmy says more screens of the chase are shown, and that Jonathan runs like really runs. Chargery asks McMahon Hemsley if she saw her, McMahon Hemsley, chasing Majors. Stephanie responds that she sees her following him. At this point, Jimmy notes that the people seem to be smirking, even a subtle, quiet laugh about the answers being given. Jimmy notes more broadly some of the question and answers Chargery weaved throughout her questioning regarding pain and adrenaline, seemingly to highlight inconsistencies. I don't know, I just know he was trying to make me feel pain. I felt pain throughout my entire body. Sometimes I felt adrenaline, sometimes I felt pain. Question, do you feel adrenaline in the club? Yes. Question, did it hurt to move your hand in the club? No. Card 2, played while Jabari is questioned on what is happening in the video. From the video, Majors is seen entering the left side. This time he goes to the back row to sit. Then you see the right door open and you can see McMahon Hemsley is pulling at Majors by the coat while he was trying to leave. Suddenly, a white shirt is visible in screen. Chargery asks McMahon Hemsley if she can see his shirt now. Yes. Apparently, McMahon Hemsley repeated more than once that she couldn't recall seeing his shirt during earlier testimony, tagging Danny Does Law for an assist. This is definitely when the button was popped off of Major's coat, tagging Blabbit for the assist on the photos if she can help. Sidewalk with friends. Now they are on the sidewalk with friends, all of them. So this seems to be the footage beyond what we've seen in the public availability sidewalk. Chloe is seen holding onto Grace to prevent her from going after Jonathan as Jonathan goes to the car. While entering through the side door of the car, Jonathan points and motions visibly. Then Jabari comes into the car, then Jonathan leaves. Friends are standing on the sidewalk. Car 3. Both Jonathan and Grace are seen entering the vehicle on the left. Then Majors exits on the right. Chargery, did you see how he left? No. Did you throw anything on the ground? I don't recall. This question is stricken. It was apparent from the video that McMahon Hemsley had thrown something on the ground but was not sure what. At this point, this is where the friends decided to hang out together. Jimmy notes that the friends take a taxi, not the hired car, to the bar together. He believes Jonathan made his own way home, then the hired driver left. Chargery hones in on the sidewalk conversation. Chargery plays the video of McMahon Hemsley meeting the strangers on the sidewalk. Chargery asks McMahon Hemsley, what was the first thing you said to them? Referring to Chloe, Shams, and Max, whitehead guy, boyfriend of Chloe. Oh, I don't recall. Jimmy laughs, says they played a clip, and McMahon Hemsley audibly saying, Jonathan Majors is my boyfriend. Lucy's in pain. As Chargery moves forward in the timeline of events, this is where she asks some of the many questions she asked about pain. Do you feel pain throughout the night? Sometimes I felt adrenaline, sometimes I felt pain. Okay, did you feel adrenaline in the club? Yes. Do you feel pain in the club? Yes. Did it hurt you to move your hand in the club? No. Jimmy notes here that at previous points, time and unknown to me, that McMahon Hemsley responded to a question about pain with, I wasn't focusing on the pain, I was focusing on the infidelity. Did you use any stairs when you got to Lucy's? I don't recall. Did you take any shots at the bar? Yeah, I think I took a shot of tequila. How many? 1, 2, I don't recall. Did you take any shots after the first one? I don't remember. Jimmy knows this is all on video. Taking off the makeup. When you got home, this is Proper Chargery, did you take off your makeup? Yes, I did. I took my makeup off. What did you use? This is Jimmy. Side note, she wasn't definitely in the answer, seeming like she knew where Chargery was going. Did you notice injuries on your face when you looked in the mirror? Well, I didn't look in the mirror to take my makeup off. You didn't look in the mirror to make sure your makeup was off? Well, I don't wear much makeup. Do you wear lipstick? I don't recall. Do you look in the mirror? No, I don't wear much makeup. I wonder if this is when Pyro asked if Chloe had sent her the selfie they took. And Stephanie said she didn't remember if Chloe sent her that one. In text messages between Jonathan Majors and accuser Stephanie McMahon, the Marvel actor appeared to admit to physically violence against the now ex 6 months before Majors was arrested in March and charged with assault in a separate domestic violence case. "I fear you have no perspective of what could happen if you go to the hospital," Majors texts Stephanie, 30, in September of 2022. "They will ask you questions, and as I don't know, you'll actually protect us. It could lead to an investigation. Even if you do lie, they suspect something." In that message, Major also stated it's just fake. But based on the messages put in evidence, it is not clear what he was calling fake, and no context was provided in court. In text messages displayed to the jury and read into the record by Stephanie on her fourth and final day on the stand, Stephanie appeared to assure Majors that she would not blame him for allegedly causing injury to her head. Allegedly. "I will tell the doctor I bumped my head," Stephanie cried as she read it out loud. Then, unable to continue through her tears, Assistant District Attorney Kelly Galloway took over. "I will tell the doctors I bumped my head if I go. I'm going to give it one more day, but I can't sleep and I need stronger painkillers. That's all. Why would I tell them what really happened when it's clear I want to be with you?" The text message was previously mentioned by the prosecutors in 115 pretrial filing in October and considered monolith evidence, which in the state of New York Unified Court System defines as conduct that is inextricable interwoven with the Charges Act and which may provide necessary background information or explanations to Charges Act. In that filing, prosecutors mentioned medical records from London's related to an incident that occurred in September 2022. That earlier incident of alleged abuse had previously been ruled admissible, but in a series of cross-examinations questions which preceded Judge Michael Gaffney had laid like specifically, the defense opened the door to prosecutors being able to share with the jury text messages regarding that prior incident. The judge told lawyers Friday. On cross-examination earlier this week, Power Chaudhry, one of Major's defense attorneys, had drilled Stephanie about why the morning after alleged March 2023 incident, the woman had told emergency personnel that she did not remember how she became injured. Gaffney said Friday morning that Chaudhry had asked the question in an effort to impugn Stephanie's credibility, even though there might be another reason she was not forthcoming. In those September 22 messages, Majors had responded to Stephanie threatened suicide if his then girlfriend went to the hospital for her head injuries. "Last night I considered killing myself versus coming home," Majors wrote to Stephanie, added, "I need love too, or maybe I'm just a monster and a horrible man. I don't deserve it, and I should just kill myself. In this way, my existence is just miserable. I want to die." Stephanie, who was in court, tuned into the direction of the projected text messages, had responded, "I would not go to the doctor if I do not feel safe. If you do not feel me safe going, or don't trust me to. I promise you I would never mention you, but understand your fear." Telling her that she could not reject his love and admonishing her for not hugging him after the alleged fight, Majors noted by text, "I will probably kill myself. It's not really contemplating anymore," he added. "I am a monster, a horrible man, and not capable of love. I'm killing myself soon." "Jonathan, you can't say this. I'm going to have to tell someone," Stephanie responded by text, noting her perceived error in not hugging him. As the text message was read aloud to the juries, Major, seated at the defense table in a black suit and white collar shirt, kept his head down, hands in his lap, his binders on the note shut. When prosecutors finished reading the messages, the actor looked briefly at the jury. The details of the September 22 incident were not further detailed for the jury, as that earlier incident is still otherwise precluded from coming into the trial. However, the 115-page file reviewed by People, prosecutors listed a series of text messages by Stephanie in September 22, only some of which were shared by the jury, which included, per prosecutors, photograph of a hand, shoulder, and buttocks, along with text about punching, disgusted pain, and as they shared with the jury Friday on September 22nd, a text with JM using Major's initials as medical treatment. In court Friday, Galloway then moved on her redirect questioning of Stephanie to March 23 incident, asking Stephanie why she initially told emergency personnel that she did not know how she became injured. "I was just scared of the consequences of it," Stephanie answered. "I still wanted to protect him." Miss Stephanie Galloway asks, do you know who caused your injury on March 25th, 2023? I do. Stephanie added, the defendant, Jonathan Majors. Majors is facing charges of assault in the third degree in an attempt to cause physical harm, assault in the third degree, reckless, cause of physical injury, aggravated harassment in the second degree, and harassment in the second degree in connection with the alleged fight between him and Stephanie that spilled onto the streets in Chinatown in March. DA met with the driver yesterday with an interpreter, and just this morning via email at 9:07 a.m. let the defense know via a Brady disclosure. Gaffey is allowing a DV expert witness to testify with very limited parameters for what she can and cannot say, including but not limited to not discussing psychological diagnosis or battered women syndrome. Both Chloe and her Billy badass boyfriend testifies it seems favorable to the defense in not only establishing doubt for how and when Stephanie's injuries were sustained, but for her high level of intoxication she ran into a wall while exiting Lucy's for the cab. Both Chloe and Billy testify that they have not seen or heard from Stephanie since March 25th, 2023. They are not friends. Video shows Chloe hugs Stephanie cheek to cheek on the right side 3 to 5 times with a white shirt on, and testifies she did not ever see or notice any blood, bleeding, or injuries to Stephanie's right hand or right ear. No blood transferred onto her white t-shirt either. The prosecution called the fourth witness, Naveed Sawar, the driver of the black Cadillac Escalade. Your interpreter arrives in 6 side by side on the witness side. Witness answers all questions in Urdu with little exception. Direct examination. Driver for the Black Lane car service for the past 2 years. Most of his clients are with the Amorites business class. March 24th through 25th, 2023. Driver identifies client as Jonathan Majors. Driver says Prayer S set up the car for him. Car was a Cadillac Escalade and he picked them up at probably 5 p.m. in Chelsea. When asked who was with him, Sarwar says a girl with him. When asked about their interaction between one another, Sarwar testifies it was good. Sarwar testifies that he took them to BAM, Brooklyn Academy of Music, and stayed in the car outside. After quite a while, they came out. When asked again about their interaction, he says it was good. Sarwar testified that neither seemed intoxicated. He then took them to the Japanese restaurant where they stayed for about 90 minutes. When asked again about their interaction, he says it was good. Sarwar then testified, then I went to leave them at the house, referencing the next stop on the trip. At 12:40 a.m., I was taking them to their house. When we reached Canal and Bowery Street, the girl said, I want to see something on your phone. Sarwar states, I was looking straight and the boy said there was nothing, but the girl was insisting. When asked if he saw what happened next, he says, I was feeling that something was going on in the back seat. The boy wanted to get rid of the girl, so he opened the door. The boy came out of the car at Canal and Century Street. Video played at that point that Jonathan exits the vehicle. Sarwar testifies to the following. Saw that they were fighting amongst themselves. He was trying to get rid of her. He was saying, leave me alone, I want to go. He was not doing anything. She was doing everything. I do remember the boy pushing her back into the car to get rid of her. Then they both left. Sarwar testified that after they both exited the car, he called his booker and she advised him to wait for the phone call, and she called him back. The booker eventually said he should just wait for them. He said he took a right turn on Century Street and parked my car on the left side. He also said that when he looked again, he saw them standing on the side and the girl again was yelling at the boy and they were having an argument. Sarwar testified, I had a feeling that the girl had hit the boy earlier because of the way she was fighting and the sounds produced. The witness was advised by the people not to offer his personal opinion, but no moves to strike the testimonies were made. When asked, Sarwar could not readily identify Jonathan on the surveillance video and did not remember them coming to the car a third time. He did not remember what Stephanie looked like, and says he only recognized Jonathan from appearing in court last Friday. Cross-examination. Sauber confirms there was no blood found in his car. He testified that he didn't remember seeing Jonathan in the third row of the Escalade. Defense rest. Witness number 6, Chloe Zoller, testified on March 24th through the 25th, was hanging with friends to celebrate their birthdays. Zoller admitted to having a few drinks and that she was intoxicated, but I don't believe I had any problems understanding. Zoller testified that she noticed that they were talking to someone that I did not know. When asked how she first encountered Stephanie McMahon Hemsley III, she says they spoke for a few minutes. When asked when she first saw Jonathan, she stated he proceeded to pass right past us and around the corner. Zoller said she didn't recall Stephanie saying anything, just that she was flustered, crying, and upset. Zoller says she proceeded to follow them around the corner but didn't recall what Stephanie was saying. She says they were on the corner a long time, 30 minutes. Zoller testified that the driver met them outside and they thought they were going to send them both home. She says then heard them running out of the car and that they both were upset, very upset. Zoller said that she and her friends were trying to figure out that they could send Stephanie and where they could send Jonathan. Zoller testified that she entered the car with Stephanie and tried to get her home, but invited her to the party but didn't recall her response. She says they took an Uber and she and Stephanie sat in the back and Stephanie seemed calmer. Zoller stated that Stephanie told her to order champagne and they got rounds of tequila shots. Then asked Zoller stated that Stephanie had a lighter, happier demeanor. She says she didn't notice any injuries on Stephanie, but that Lucy's is dark inside. She also stated she noticed no injuries on Stephanie when they first met earlier that night. Zoller testified that she and Stephanie are not friends and do not keep in contact. She says the last time I saw her that night, March 25th, 2023. Cross-examination. Zoller showed pictures that they took at Lucy's. She said she had about 3 to 4 drinks before she met Stephanie. Zoller testified she did not observe any injuries on Stephanie when they first met. And then when she hugged Stephanie, she did not complain of any pain or transfer any blood onto Chloe. Zoller testified she observed tears on her face when she first saw Jonathan. Zoller did not recall hearing Stephanie yelling and says she watched him from a distance. Zoller does not recall Jonathan yelling, but says she may have used terms that she's heard Stephanie yelling at Jonathan. Videos played of surveillance at the 3 Lafayette Street apartment building with sound. Zoller testified that Jonathan and Stephanie were in about 30 seconds before they both came out running. At Lucy, Zoller says that Stephanie told her the credit card belonged to Jonathan, but she couldn't recall exactly how she said it. As respects the bucket of ice on the table, she doesn't recall which finger or any injury on Stephanie's finger. When asked to recollect vaping and smoking with Stephanie, Chloe said, potentially, and I believe so. She testified she did not see everything Stephanie did that night and that she did not recall if Stephanie indicated any pain while holding Chloe's hand. There are a few photos shown to emphasize the fact that Stephanie was against them with her right ear and no blood transferred onto the clothes. Surveillance shows that Chloe confirms that she walked with Stephanie to the door of Lucy's so she could catch a taxi. Zoller testifies that she did not recall seeing Stephanie walk into the wall on the way out. Video was played of them approaching the exit and the fumbling happens by Stephanie. At the exit, surveillance videos show them hugging one another right cheek to cheek 3 different times, and Zoller is holding Stephanie's right hand. Zoller states that she met with the DA twice, once in April, once last week. She says of Jonathan and Stephanie, they were touching physically, but I do not recall anything of that nature, meaning assault. Redirect. Zoller did not look at Stephanie's finger, did not recall seeing head or fingers being hit or Stephanie falling. Witness number 9, Officer Lucero, also known as Officer Amnesia. Just let you know, there's a 2-for-1 deal on the Blue Wall special on this one. Let's go. Largely unremarkable in his testimony on both direct and cross. Didn't recall much of anything. Even with his body cam footage being played back, he played dumb. Fun times for everybody. Officer Amnesia did recall helping Stephanie write the domestic incident report. He wrote the first page and a half, and she wrote the rest, and recalled occupying her to Bellevue. Notably, he no longer works for the NYPD and now working for Sulphur County PD in Long Island for the past 3 months. So zero accountability to be had, hence why he can't recall anything. Witness number 10, Sergeant Brian Hansen, aka the Choker. More of the same kind of genetic and repetitive testimony, even with body cam footage. His camera was noticeably positioned, strangely enough, that not much could be seen below the neckline area. 22-year New York Police Department vet with only 2 approximate years as sergeant, spent a month in the academy training for the promotion. In the ultimate decision maker on the arrest, claims he checked around for pills and other evidence of attempted pruning and didn't find any evidence of the collection. Saw blood on a blanket but did not look elsewhere around the apartment for blood. Testified that Jonathan showed him his phone and all the text messages. Indicated to Officer Swain that he grabbed his own neck to get him to ask Stephanie more questions. Testified that Stephanie told him that she was struck in the head several times and the defendant grabbed her throat. Accompanied Stephanie to the hospital, and the body cam footage throughout the time with her is evidently shown her using her right hand to not only text in irregular intervals, but dig in her purse and adjust her clothing. Witness 11, Ben Toddy. Largely unremarkable as well as far as his testimony, but he is just like his British counterpart with the over-explaining yes and no answers. Has been living in NYC for 8 years and has been Stephanie's manager for that long and personal friend for half that long. He also says he's Holly's friend and colleague. He was very dramatic in describing how he perceived her to feel, and despite speculating and exaggerating, was allowed to continue through several defense objections. He sat with Stephanie during the 3-hour stay at the Bellevue psychiatric ward and says that her demeanor was one that I have not recognized before, much smaller personality, and Stephanie was half the person that I've seen before. Toddy also testified that he went back to the apartment with her after contacting Jonathan Major's manager, Para S., and helped her pack. He too tried to persuade Stephanie to go to a hotel and to speak to her sister, but she refused to go and wanted to sleep. On cross, he admitted that he did not know if Stephanie ever left the apartment as he suggested. Defense rested after asking him 3 questions. One other in which he admitted to having his flight paid for by the DA. Witness number 12, Josie Torelli. Graduated Columbia University in 2006 with a master's in social work. She's a licensed clinical social worker, consults in DV, trauma, and sexual violence. Has a specialization in interpersonal trauma, DV, sexual violence, and intimate partner violence. Is being paid $200 an hour by the DA. Lackluster. Felt like we were in a psychology 101 lecture. Jury was bored and one of them even fell asleep. Most of the testimony was psychobabble the majority of America now learns on TikTok, #no shade. Claimed that physical violence is not always hitting someone, but then use choking as the only example. Nothing she offered as an expert opinion applied to the case at hand, as she was only allowed to speak in general terms. However, on cross-examination, the snarky and Zuckerberg shook things up and woke us up with an added bonus, but getting her to concede to the following. She only testified in 3 defense cases, only one being a criminal case where she did not testify. She never worked with someone traumatized by false allegations. She supposedly just learned about Jonathan Majors last night despite being contacted months ago by the DA. Note, jury foreman person likes the Z-Man. Seems to think he's pretty funny. That's there no way to look at someone and tell that they've experienced trauma. She never worked with someone who faked trauma, denied being biased, but claims she has a different worldview about DV due to her profession. That not every disagreement or argument is intimate partner violence. Court adjourned because it's 4:30 to be continued. All right, so you guys seen the videos. Now, this is my thing. I do hate the fact that we are in a society now that is already going to label somebody and then they can't even go on with their life without somebody in this Me Too movement, believe all women, man-hating, atmosphere that we in now, that we can't actually get healing. I think that's the biggest problem that I have with this whole entire thing. It would have been a great opportunity for Keke Palmer and Jonathan Majors to be able to talk about triggers and traumas. What makes a person, without going into complete detail about what actually happened, about the trauma and the triggers that you have when you're in a toxic relationship, when the relationship has gone too far and you're in a position where you feel like you can't leave, you can't this person might harm themselves, all these particular factors, and they might harm you. And they can be able to actually have a conversation about that, have an understanding. No finger pointing, no yelling, no arguing, no screaming, healing. And it seems like we always talking about the mental health of black men and what can we do to help black men. We don't need all this toxic masculinity or whatever. But when you bully a young lady for having a conversation that she could have had about healing, who's really toxic? Wait a minute. You're telling me the video's over? What? Okay, I guess so. If you have came to this portion of the video, thank you so very much for sticking to the end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit that little bell notification so you never miss one of my videos. And if you really want to, you don't got to, go ahead and follow the social media links that's down below. Until next time, I'll holler at you guys later. Peace and Bob Hire, y'all. Y'all take care of yourself.